Good afternoon. Welcome to this third webinar devoted to the Master in Insurance and Risk Management program. My name is Antonietta Barona. I'm the program manager. Maybe I've already met some of you in a previous webinar. Today the focus is consists in a meeting with one of our core faculty member, Professor Andrea Ampo, who is an expert in marketing. So he gives a course of marketing, specifically customer centricity and value-driven marketing. So thank you for being here, Professor Ampo. And first of all, we'd like to ask you, what are the current trends in the marketing industry that you believe are the most relevant for MIRM students today?
If I may, I would like to have a brief introduction about marketing and insurance, because the insurance business typically had not been known to be a marketing machine in the past. So we're used to think about marketing when we talk about consumer goods or things like this. But lately, it became more and more important. Now, another aspect that I would like very briefly to underline before we start dealing with your question is that in the past, I would say at least until 10 years ago, insurers were known or addressed as a kind of business where there was a big gap between marketing and the insurance business and the customer. And luckily, this changed in the last 10 years. One of the first things that you can notice when it comes to insurance as marketing is that it's quite difficult to find publications that are specifically related to marketing in insurance. So it's difficult to find books about this. It's much easier to find books about finance and insurance with a lot of things about banking, for example. So over time, this became more and more important. And also the MIRM course, what we're teaching now in MIRM master classes, is more basically related to the insurance business. So there have been a lot of changes lately in insurance in the last 10 years with respect to marketing. So this was just to briefly introduce the context that is not just marketing, but it is marketing within a specific industry. And so the question was
about the current trends in the marketing industry.
So there are some, let's say, general trends that are not only related to the insurance industry, and some are more specific. And before I mention them, I would like to underline that when you talk about trends in marketing, you have to pay attention, because some of these might become just buzzwords. Okay. Over the year, we have seen different waves of buzzword coming and also going very quickly. So it's important to understand what are the current trends, but it is also to understand how important they are and how likely they are to remain current practices in the industry. So one of the most recent trends in general in marketing, so this is not specific to the insurance industry, is a lot of focus on what we call brand purpose or company purpose. Now, this topic is a very high-level topic, and it deals with the role a company has for the society in general. So to choose one or more purposes beyond profitability or revenues or financial performance. There is a lot of talking about this. Some companies jumped on the bandwagon, and so they're saying a lot of things about their purpose. Some other companies are waiting. And why is this relevant for marketing? Well, because marketing is something inside that is called the brand identity that is developed typically by marketers. And even if the company wants or not to tackle this brand purpose trend, marketing is to be involved, because in a way or another, it has to define the implication both for brand management and communication management perspective. As I said, it could be a risky bandwagon to jump in unless you're sure about this. So besides talking about this, what is important is that different businesses are able to understand the implications, so to make things come real. Another one, and I think we will spend some words about this later, is artificial intelligence. As you might expect, we're seeing this everywhere, okay? In our computer, we're using Copilot, we read about this in the newspaper, and there is a lot of talking about this. This is just the reality. And maybe later we can expand this topic. Not a very current trend in terms of how it is named, that is customer relationship management, thought as a set of tools to manage the customer relationship. So we're talking typically about digital tools. But more recently, the problem is a lot of companies have been working in basically using CRM system, integrating this system within their business. But the main problem is using the data, putting the data into the system and being able to do something with those data. So lately, it became quite important that you don't need only to have, a system or a software or something that deal with this data, but to draw implication and make them actionable. If we move to the insurance industry in particular, this is a relevant topic because in the last 10 years, I would say, there was a big war going on in the insurance industry, that is customer centricity with just some different naming, around the world, but basically the idea is to put more focus on the customer and being able to use the data, and there are a lot of data available to companies, to develop programs, products, and services that are more customer-centric became much more important. Another thing that we have seen in the insurance industry lately is the realization on the part of the industry that they need to look outside of the border of the industry. So often it happened that insurance companies were looking at other insurers to understand what they were doing and maybe copy-pasting something. Lately, it became more clear that for the insurance industry to remain competitive and profitable over the long term, they should take experiences also coming from other industries, especially when it came to developing new products, new services, and using digital technologies. And another recent things we are seeing and hearing people talking about in the industry is the ability to deliver locally. That basically means we might have big strategies, big marketing programs that are very often done at the last floor of a big building somewhere in a capital of a country. But then the real service and the real product is sold locally, from agents or in a physical space, basically, or digital space. So the ability to execute these marketing programs locally have become quite important. I don't know if I touched all the points, but mostly there are some things that might be relevant.
How do you integrate theoretical concepts with practical cases within the MIRM program?
Okay. So the basic idea is that marketing could be one of those topics where there could be a lot of blah, blah. And so we have these theories, fantastic thing about advertising and general framework about how messages are interpreted. But we decided not to take this path. And marketing, especially in the whole MIRM program, I guess, maybe you can confirm this, is a course that focuses a lot on case discussion, not case analysis. If you don't know what a business case is, it's basically a complex situation that takes some time to read, with a lot of complexity to be solved and a decision to be made. Since we're dealing in marketing, typically we take the perspective of the marketing manager and we try to deal with a particular problem, finding one or more particular solution. One particular characteristic of doing this is that we deal with the contents first. So we introduce the content, the concept, framework, or metrics, formulas, what we need basically to introduce, and then we try to apply them in a context that is not simple. So there might be different ways to solve the problem if the problem is clear. This means that we're also sharing different perspectives on things. So I would do this, I would do that. Then typically I share my perspective. Very often we can also discuss what really happened. And so we can compare our perspective with what really happened, that it is not to be taken for, what should be done. But basically the idea of making these things tangible is putting them in context into a specific problem that has to be solved and linking these to theory. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it is not, because there might be some differences between theories and what we see in the real world. But still, it's a very effective way to see things from a business perspective than it is not only an academic perspective. Moreover, we also have application of some tools. So a case, a complex situation, but we might have specific tools that we can apply. So we can try to apply a specific tool of positioning or, make calculations. And then we have a lot of examples that might be useful then for case discussion, in this general discussion about cases. Moreover, we typically also have guest speakers about a specific topic. It depends on, each year, that share their knowledge about a specific vertical, a specific topic or situation they have been dealing with. So this is basically how we try to put together academic knowledge with business practice.
What key skills do you believe students should acquire during the marketing studies in the MIRM program?
So the particular course I'm teaching at MIRM is a lot focused on strategic marketing and not on operational marketing. So we're not going to design an advertising campaign, even if we are trying to create some ideas on how to manage them. So we also see brochures, real brochures from companies, we commend them, but with the idea to understand if these tangible products of marketing are coherent with the strategic approach of the company. What does this mean? That mostly the skill that we're trying to deliver to participants when it comes to this particular point are high-level skill, okay? Without focusing on specific topic, so things that we're doing in class, I would say that there are a couple of them that are important to me, and they can be relevant over time also for students. One is understanding customers, and with customers we might mean people in insurance, so consumers, but also businesses. That basically means we have to understand what kind of product, service we have to create and how we can deliver this product to them while making a profitable company. So this is one aspect that is running through basically both theory and all the case discussion and application. And the other thing that is relevant, in my opinion, to MIRM, and from this particular point of view, this is quite unique of MIRM, putting together quite relevant technical knowledge because of the previous background of students, participants, and because of the contents of the other courses in MIRM with the customer. Because what happens very often is that these products that are sometimes complex financial product with quite complicated pricing calculations are seen as something that are created in offices but never touch the real market. So what we're trying to do is to develop this ability to put together the complexity, the technical complexity of insurance products, also financial products, with the customer. And we have to assume here that most often there is a gap in knowledge between these two things, and it is not easy to adopt the perspective of I don't know, accountant, okay, or with the perspective of a customer, of an insurance customer. So we are focusing on these two main skills that we develop over the program.
Okay. Now let's go to artificial intelligence that you mentioned before. So what role do emerging technologies such as AI and data analytics play in the modern marketing landscape?
So I will try to give you three different answers. Okay, the first one is the answer that many of us can understand, can imagine as the most important, the most immediate one, that is efficiency in doing things. Artificial intelligence can speed up operations, can make operation that now requires a lot of time on the part of people, of the staff involved, also in marketing, but not only marketing, but also in marketing. And so we can create more efficient operations, okay? So this is going to have an impact on cost. But as I already told you, why marketing cares a lot about cost, it also should care about the value delivered to the customer. And so here comes my second answer, that is that artificial intelligence can improve our ability to understand customers. So we have to imagine that, especially when dealing with insurance and financial company, we are talking about big businesses, so big companies with a lot of data. Very often these data are difficult to be processed, and it is difficult to draw implication from this data. So we might end up in a situation where we have the raw materials, the input materials. We might also have softwares to do something, but we don't know what to do and how to use them for our purposes, that is creating value for the company, for the customer. So I was mentioning customer centricity a few minutes ago. Customer centricity became basically more real with data analytics and artificial intelligence, because now there are more possibilities to analyze this data and to draw a conclusion from this data. So to understand whether there is a problem and what we can do to solve basically this problem. I make a very simple example. I think of claim management. If you know something about insurance, basically it's a process where we receive a claim on the part of the customer. There is some paperwork. Someone has to check if the paperwork is correct. We have to understand whether the claim is a valid claim, it's a fraud, and then we have to understand how much we have to give back to the customer because of this claim. This is quite a complex process that takes a lot of time, especially when it comes to detecting frauds. Now, artificial intelligence can speed up many of these operations in many different ways, analyzing data or creating digital data from paper data and things like this. So on one side, we are making more efficient, we are creating more efficient operation, but on the other side, we're also able to give customers a faster feedback. So and this is important because very often, we have to wait weeks or even months, to understand what happened with our claim. And so there is this dual vision of artificial intelligence. Other things that I can mention is artificial intelligence to understand how a customer is valuable for a company. Okay, marketing, we're talking about customer lifetime value. That basically means if we put together all the different sources of data, we might try to infer what is the potential value of a customer over time. And this basically means how much we have to focus on trying to retain that particular customer. Now, until a few years ago, this was a very complex issue. We tried 6 years ago, something like this, in another course, to work on a project for this kind of estimation with a student, a manager, not a young student, a manager. But it turned out to be more complicated than we thought. Now this could be slightly, let's say, easier or faster. Okay, if we know what we want to achieve with this artificial intelligence. And if you don't mind, I would like to add a small point about this. That is not small at all, but I will try to make it short. That is, so on one side, we have efficiency. On the other side, we have support for customer-centric application, understanding customer, creating better services and product. The third point is artificial intelligence. It's simple to pronounce, but it is difficult to do. Okay, here we're talking about complex statistical modeling. We're talking about people that have to code things. So we need someone that is able to code this stuff. So we're talking about machine learning, neural networks, and these kind of things. This is not common knowledge for a manager. And typically we need specialists to do this, especially when we want to create our own artificial intelligence application within a given company. Now, this is creating a problem that is the gap in knowledge between current management and the specialists of AI. Okay, the specialists should not be considered like, just IT people. Very often we have physicists, we have mathematics behind this. So what does it mean? That in order for the management to properly communicate to the specialists what they need, and for the specialists to communicate what is the outcome or what is the problem they are going through, they should kind of share the same mindset and have some common glossary. Now, this proved to be quite complicated because of the different technicalities between these two words. And what we are trying to do also in the school is, and also in MIRM, is to also train managers on some basics of artificial intelligence and machine learning, not because they will be able or they're supposed to create an artificial intelligence program, but because in order to be able to lead this group of very technical and fantastic persons working on this AI and machine learning, we need to be able to understand them and to guide them. So it's important also to connect marketing and in general, let's say, the business part of MIRM with these more technical things, not because we hope them to code something, but because hopefully they will be able to help the specialists to create better programs, better application for the business. So it took me longer than I thought, sorry.
That's fine, thank you. How does the program help students develop a strategic vision of marketing and a customer centricity and understand the interplay between marketing and other business sectors?
So as I told you, we're working a lot on real case discussions. These case discussions are based on non-trivial situations, and these non-trivial situations are often interrelated. That basically means if you do this, you can do this. If you do this, you have to have the approval from, I don't know, price manager. If you do this, you have to ask to the product specialist to create a different product, okay? So since these problems are non-trivial, basically they are mostly marketing problems, but they are very deeply connected with both the strategy and the company, those in charge of the product. And so we are basically seeing things not in terms of silos. So marketing is just in charge of marketing, product people are just creating product that could be policies or financial investment or whatever it is. But we're trying to take a horizontal look so that we can connect marketing to the other areas. Now, historically, the silos approach of big businesses ended up being a problem for many businesses because they were taking care of just a specific piece of the business, but the customer doesn't care whether they're dealing with a person that is in charge of A and B, because the customer is seeing A, B, C, D, till Z, and they're dealing with just one company. So the silo approach is quite problematic. So this is something also we're trying to instill in our courses. Another thing we're doing is we also make references, both in terms of cases and example to other industries, so that we can see the connection. So there are some problems that are similar, for example, when it comes to managing distribution network or distribution channels, okay? And then another important, I would say almost fundamental thing, is to be able to see the same problem taking a different perspective. So as a rule, we are very prone to take the position of the marketing manager when we are dealing with marketing problems. But the fact is that we also have the customer perspective, we have the product perspective, we have the strategic guy perspective, we have the financial guy perspective that maybe is worried about, I don't know, discount or something like this. So in order to come out with not a solution, but with a possible path that we could follow, we have to see things from different perspectives. And at the end, it's about managing trade-offs. In marketing, there is not always a perfect solution, almost never. There are broad solutions and solutions that work, some better and some not so good. But basically, it's about managing trade-off. And another important thing is, since we're taking the perspective of different players, okay, we are also able at least to imagine what are the implications of a particular choice on other people. So this is how we are trying, to develop a strategic perspective and put together different parts of a company that is not only marketing.
Okay, thank you. So what advice would you give to students who aspire to pursue a career in marketing, in insurance, of course?
Okay, most likely this is the most difficult question. So as I said in my very brief introduction, marketing in insurance was never considered to be, the main part, the main activity of a company. Now, lately, luckily, this changed, but it is not easy to find a lot of job application in insurance marketing. Okay. This said, another characteristic of marketing, and you should be aware of this, is that marketing is made of many different specializations. So we might have people working in marketing that basically have very, very different background, and they do completely different jobs. Like, for example, if you're working in inbound marketing, you have to become a specialist of SEO, search engine optimization, and things like this. If you work in the creative part, this SEO thing, this inbound marketing thing is not relevant. And if you deal with distribution network, most likely you don't even know what inbound marketing and SEO is. Okay, so it's a word of specialist. Okay, only the top position we might have person that do have a general understanding of many of these specialization with a couple of 2 or 3 strong experience in the past. They did in the past. So basically, the advice, given the fact that MIRM is not a marketing course, but is a master in insurance and risk management course, is to focus on potential previous experiences or background. So if you have a very strong analytical background, you might try to focus on those parts of marketing where strong analytical skills are required, like, for example, using and analyzing data coming from the CRM, or if you have experiences with digital whatever, digital marketing, digital something, you might want to focus on that particular part. Or take a specialization and basically try to focus on a quite specific, let's say, part of marketing. Second, and this kind of experience or focalization, to me, could also not be insurance related. So if you have experience coming from other businesses, insurers lately are quite open, to get people coming from the outside of the industry with this kind of specific knowledge. And another thing that can be useful is to get an experience in sales, because dealing with sales is basically meeting with customers, dealing with customers, understanding customer problems can be a real value added when it comes then to, deal with big marketing strategy and the top floor of a big building. So this is going to typically to be seen as an important add-on to specific knowledge or, marketing knowledge, having had some experience in field experience in sales. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
and we give the floor to our attendees. So is there any questions that you would like to ask to Professor Rampon?
So feel free.
Okay, just in case, also after this webinar, Professor Rampon will be available to answer your questions by email, maybe. Correct, Professor Rampon?
Yeah.
If anybody has some curiosity or any additional questions that you would like to ask. After this webinar, I announce you that there will be a 4th and last webinar that will be scheduled in the month of July. And of course, you will receive an invitation. So if you want to join, it will focus on the direction of the program manager. Of the program. So Professor Federica Seganti, who is the director, will be the speaker. So
okay, so no question from your part. Okay, hopefully I will meet you maybe
here.
Yeah,
sure.
So we're here
During the program. So thank you very much, and we wish you a lovely evening. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
There is a question. Maybe.
Yes, but yeah,
Yes.
I'm not wearing my eyeglasses,
Can
so I
you
cannot
discuss
read it.
integration or joint research or work with Generali or other local corporate insurance companies? What do you mean by integration, Ethan? Integration or joint research? So we have as Professor Rampol mentioned, we in the second part of the program, we often host managers from mainly from the sponsor companies, also Generali, and so they provide they meet students, and they also provide their experience, their direct experience in the industry. And there is also a possibility for some candidates to complete an internship in some of our sponsor companies, and also to draft the final thesis on specific topic and research.
Yeah, it is not, okay, you already answered.
Okay, I think that more or less it's what they would like to.
It often happens that if you get the possibility to work also on an internship with, let's say, Generali or another company, you might want to focus your final dissertation on that specific activity. Okay, so this is an example, and I think basically this is what Ethan was asking for.
Okay.
Then on our side, since we often work, if I can add this, we, not only me, we often work on specific things with companies. We end up with the possibility to share the things we work on with the companies, with the class, keeping clearly hiding, sensitive data and things like this. But this is something that we always try to do.
Okay. Thank you very much. There are no other questions. So thank you and see you shortly. And I hope that you will also attend the 4th webinar in July. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.